So today's project is inspired by a project that I originally did on my blog, and I'm going to show you two versions of the same project. So this is the original pin from Pinterest that inspired my project. This Santa wreath is done with tulle, and I decided to switch mine out and use textured wool instead. Here's the version from my blog post, and at the end of the video I'm going to walk you through step by step how to do this version. It's still quick and easy, it's just that you probably won't find these supplies at the dollar store. I would suggest buying a white styrofoam wreath. However, I happen to have this green one on hand and it's broken, and I decided to use it up. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change it from green to white, and to do that I'm just going to use craft paint. I'm sure you probably already know this, but you cannot spray styrofoam with spray paint. It turns into a melted, mottled mess. So I used acrylic craft paint to paint this up, and then I also glued and taped the break back together. This is fur yarn that I picked up at Dollarama. So making sure to keep the break in the wreath at the top for mine. Hopefully yours won't have a break. I'm going to wind the fur all the way around the wreath, and I found the easiest way to do this is to just unravel a section of wool, and then just keep tossing it over rather than pulling the whole ball through. And then when you get a fair bit of wool on there, you want to sort of squish it or scrunch it together so that you don't have any actual styrofoam showing. So here is the wreath. You don't need to cover the entire wreath because you're going to use your Santa hat to cover the upper portion. I used push pins to secure the ends of the wool into the styrofoam wreath. And now we just take our store-bought Santa hat and just put it on the wreath. I prefer to do it at a bit of an angle. You don't have to do yours at an angle. And then you can fold the top section over so it sits off the face area. And I just used push pins to secure the hat onto the wreath. That's the beauty of using the styrofoam, is that you can attach a lot of stuff just using pins and you don't have to muck around with hot glue. To make the mustache, just take the same wool and measure the distance of the wreath and cut 4 pieces. Cut a piece of white thread and lay the cut pieces of wool across it and tie it off at the center point. And this will be our mustache. Lay the mustache across the front lower portion of the wreath and attach it to either side using hot glue. So you can leave your wreath like this, or if you prefer, you can add a set of glasses. This wire is also purchased from the dollar store, and it is in the floral section. It's very thick and it's very, very pliable. Measure off about double the width of the wreath and cut that section off. To make the glasses, we're going to use these small craft paint bottles. You can use anything that gives you the right circumference. Insert the paint bottle partway along, leaving enough distance from what would be the edge of the glasses lens to the side of the wreath. And then you're just going to twist the one side, and then you're going to go around to the other side and you're going to twist, and the craft paint bottle is going to give you a nice perfectly round lens. For the other lens, I actually used another craft paint bottle. You could use the same one, it's just that if you use 2 separate ones, it keeps your circles from getting out of whack. So you're just going to repeat the process on the other side and keep twisting until you have enough to get to the other edge of the wreath. And then you're going to pop out your paint bottles and you're going to have a perfect set of Santa specks. The easiest way to add these on is to cut off the end pieces, leaving a little bit of extra width, and then just use the wire to poke into the side of the styrofoam. So just move the wool out of the way a little bit and poke in either side into the styrofoam wreath. Okay, here is what version 2 looks like. The main difference here is that this one is done with a loop yarn, and instead of a purchased hat, we've made a hat, and I made this one using red stretch velvet and white fur. Same as with the last version, you're going to use a push pin to attach your yarn, and then you're just going to keep winding it around until the entire thing is covered in loop yarn. This should take 2 to 3 skeins. To make the mustache, you're going to take 2 pieces of loop yarn, you're going to lay them on top of each other and then tie them together in the center with a piece of yarn. You're then going to attach that to the back side of your wreath using push pins so that it's positioned similar to this. For the hat, I used this red stretch velvet. This was a remnant piece that I bought at the fabric store. It's a 16 by 16 inch square. So this piece was folded right sides together and then stitched up the side. If you don't want to sew, you can always hot glue it together. So when it's finished, it should fold over to the side like this. Test fit it on your wreath before you add the fur. Cut a strip of fur approximately 2.5 by 21 inches for the lower front portion of Santa's hat. When cutting your fur, make sure that you don't cut through the fur. Just cut on the back side of the fur backing so that when you're finished, it looks something like this. To attach the fur to the hat, you can just lay it in place and pin it to the back of the styrofoam wreath. You don't need to glue it in place, but you can if you prefer. And then the last piece is just to add a pom-pom onto the end of Santa's hat, and you are done. Merry Christmas!